what a segment that was.
Man,
That was unbelievable that Bobette sat in with you, Paulie.
I can't believe I sat through that entire thing.
I can't either.
And I got to watch it.
Yeah, Barb had to
did.
sit through it too.
It was an eye-opener.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was.
Eye opener. It was a nose opener. I don't know if you smelled what she was wearing. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh, my. She probably bought her perfume at the Kmart rack.
But you know what I was interested in was her hair.
Did you like her hair?
I liked her hair. Look,
Yeah.
it matches the
Oh,
color
it
of my
does.
shawl
Yeah.
somewhere here. Yeah?
It does,
maybe she
And
actually.
her glasses.
Oh, those glasses were
They were
Well, you know, Bobette goes over to that Kmart rack, and that's where she gets everything.
Oh, and I forgot
and
the
her
French
husband,
fashion.
T.P. Bob. What's that?
The French fashion.
The French fashion.
Of the
the
Gil-
T-shirt, the Roper T-shirt.
The
T-shirt.
Gildon.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a
sorry.
Gildon.
You did.
It's very French.
Very French.
We love it, Mrs. Roper.
It's as French as fries.
Mrs. Roper. Anyway.
Good intonation.
We are here with none other than our good friend, Barbara Mannino.
Hello, all.
We didn't
How
introduce
are
you, Barb. Sorry. So we should introduce who we are talking with.
And who are you?
What's that? What did she say?
Who are you?
I have no idea. I was on a conference call, so I missed the whole Bobette thing.
Oh,
so-
you can watch it.
Oh.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It's worth a watch.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I heard that you have a tie-dye tuchus now.
No, only if I use the toilet paper.
Only if you use the toilet paper, okay. Don't eat the toilet paper.
Can you imagine that this is what they're talking about?
Yeah, but you have to talk up.
Talk up.
This
Can
isn't-
you imagine this is what they're talking about?
This is
Thank
all,
you, because-
this is all random mess.
Because, Barbara, we're not an E.F. Hutton commercial.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
When E.F. Hutton talks, people
Everybody
listen.
listens.
Look, Paulie's listening. See? Anyway,
More than I do at home.
Anyway, Barbara Mannino is an accomplished writer, and I know that for sure. Speaker and consultant specializing in storytelling for businesses and personal brands. With her career spanning journalism, corporate communications, and content strategy, Barbara has a deep understanding of crafting compelling narratives. She certainly does. That engage audiences and drive results. Through her work, she helps clients articulate their unique value propositions, enhance brand presence, and foster meaningful connections with their target markets. Her expertise has earned her accolades as a thought leader in storytelling, branding, and audience engagement. And I also just want to add that, so recently, Paulie, I wrote an article for Tap Into in Westfield. It was on the art of networking.
I saw
So
it.
I wrote it out. What's that?
I saw it.
You saw it, yeah. Well, guess who edited that article for
None
me?
other than Barbara
Barbara
Mannino.
Mannino, yes. So I want to give her credit. Incredible editing skills. She made my words explode off the page. It was way more impactful than when I had originally written it. And you realize the value of someone with editing skills and communication skills like Barbara, why they are such a value to your brand and your corporate communication. So that's why we want to have Barb on today. She's an incredible person, human being, great speaker. We've been in various meetings together. Barb's also on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors with me as well. And so we kind of interact throughout each other's lives. And her son, Keith, he did major work here in our house. Incredible job that Keith did.
What does Keith do?
Keith is a general contractor.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes.
And you want to know
absolutely.
something really cool about Keith? You know who he knows?
Oh, I know this story he's going to tell about my Keith.
So who does he tell Paulie who he knows?
He knows Lenny Kravitz.
Really?
He used to work with Lenny Kravitz, and
They have like a 30-year like friendship, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really
they
cool.
used to double date, all of it. And just recently, Lenny was in Atlantic City, and Keith went down to see him, and they got to reconnect in person.
Yeah, it was.
And it
Keith
was
showed us
very
the
cool.
photos
Yeah.
when he was here
That's
working
cool.
on our house.
It
really,
was very
really
rock
cool.
and roll.
let's just put it this way: the Mannino family is very talented.
He
Super
also,
talented
I see that.
family.
I see that.
Because Keith is in my wife Barb's BNI group. Barb and I are in each other's BNI group periodically when we sub for each other,
Yep.
right? So, anyway,
And I just want to say one other thing about Mike Keith. He is also a voiceover artist.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yes,
really?
Yes. So he does commercials that you can hear on the radio. And it's kind of fun to be his mom and be listening sometime randomly.
maybe he can help me with Bobette.
I was just gonna.
There
I
you
was just gonna
go.
I
say
think
that.
we need another voiceover for that. That is supposed to be Katharine Hepburn, but
Yes.
I'm not sure it's so Katharine Hepburn.
It was representative.
It's more Katharine Hepburny.
You were in the ballpark.
I like that.
You were in the
E.
ballpark.
E
With a Y.
with the Y,
With
Bernie.
the Y at the end.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what we're here to talk about today is communication and marketing. Barb and I both have multiple years in this avenue. Barb is the master of it all, though, with the marketing, corporate communications, and all that she's done throughout her career. So we thought it would be a great topic for the Randomies starting out the new year to begin to put together your strategies for 2025 from a marketing and communication point of view. So with that, I'll let Paulie open up the questioning.
Yeah. How did you discover your passion for storytelling and how it has an impact on business?
So it's very interesting because corporately, I have always written content, always written stories, also journalistically, mainstream press, global financial press. But when I went out on my own as an independent contractor, I got the flutters because I thought, how am I going to compete in this marketplace? Every day I was getting emails from gurus, and they all seemed to have MBAs from Harvard. And I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to measure up? But then simultaneously, this idea of story was taking hold as a business platform. And it occurred to me, after all that fretting, that I had the best tool of all because I had always written content. I had always written stories. They'd won awards even. And so I realized that I knew how to create stories, I knew how to find them, and I knew how to deliver them well on paper, online, and on stage.
And may I add in that you also have another distinction that a lot of people don't have, and that's a personal touch. You just you speak from the heart. You get to the heart of the matter with the individual that you're working with. I was like, we were having a conversation about the book that I was supposed to write, but because of this podcast, I got sidetracked a little. But Barb and I and my wife we were at Sweetwater's in Westfield and we had a couple glasses of wine that we talked over. And man, Barb's just an amazing conversationalist. And, you can see how using her service can really enhance your marketing and communication.
It's just such a shame she's so shy.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, really.
Like us, like all of us.
And
Yeah,
then we're so shy for her.
Yeah.
I used to be shy growing up.
Really?
In the early
What?
days.
Shy of 5 feet?
Yeah. No, in the very early days. But,
The interesting thing, because I am definitely an outwardly extrovert,
yes,
obviously.
you are.
However, I thought about this recently. When I played sports growing up, I didn't talk to anybody. I just played the sport. I just didn't communicate.
No trash talking?
What's that?
No trash
No
talking?
trash talking. No, I was really into it. I just wanted to play soccer or baseball. Particularly loved baseball, but I was kind of a little bit shy in that world. So,
Isn't it funny how people evolve? And honestly, that's part of the excitement of what I do, because I feel that story is part of personal evolution, and it makes people feel empowered.
you do a great job. I'm going to ask you the next question.
Okay.
So, can you share an example of a brand transformation you were involved in through storytelling?
Yeah. So that is primarily what I do. People either come to me because they want to fully rebrand or they want to elevate their brand. And I'm also oftentimes involved with startups and corporately with new product launches, campaign launches, and so forth. Recently, I'd like to talk about two clients who
Sure.
I think are significant for understanding how important it is to have content be a vital component of your brand. Interestingly, they're both in healthcare. They do different things, but they're both in healthcare. And the first person had an established, successful business that she'd had for several years, but her concern was getting clients. And she felt she didn't have the right language of her brand, that she wasn't compelling enough, that she wasn't telling the right stories.
Okay.
And so, of course, part of my process is a deep dive interview. And I heard many stories about several of her clients.
Okay. It's like our conversation that we had at Sweetwater's.
Exactly.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah, so from her kind of flatline, bullet pointed description of how she helped this client, I morphed it into a story with a lean-in opener, pregnant pauses, and a conclusion that included a call to action. And she said, brilliant, which
Yes.
I loved, not for my ego, but because it lights me up.
Well, you helped
when
somebody.
my clients
You
are
helped
happy.
somebody.
Exactly. And
You did the same thing for my writing in Tap Into.
that's so nice to hear.
No, absolutely. It was the same impact.
And she came back to me and said, you'll never believe, but in 1 week, I've taken on 2 new high-end clients.
Awesome.
Because I used your technique. So that transferred into more dollars.
Awesome.
The other one I want to talk about is slightly different. He's newer in business. This person is newer in business.
And that's a whole other angle. I've been on both sides. I've been in mature brands with McDonald's. I've been in startups with E-Trade, and it's a way different conversation.
It is way different. He had been in the field for a while, but he was relatively new in starting his business. He knew he was good. He knew
Was he in the same?
had a differentiator.
He started a new business in the same field.
Yes, but he was differentiated. He's actually a physical therapist.
Okay.
And he does more with physical therapy, provides more personalized service, explains and understand that you may have a pain in the shoulder, but it may be manifesting someplace else. And his whole premise is identifying the root cause and working on a person and evaluating and reevaluating till he gets their movement right so that they can continue to move effectively and perform in life or even in performance sports
Barbara,
to the level
I'm sorry,
that they want.
Did you ever read a book called The Blue Ocean?
Years ago when I was
That's
in marketing
exactly.
and corporate
That's
life.
exactly. Yeah. What. It seems like what you're talking about is you have so many businesses that are in that red ocean, and what gets you to differentiate yourself puts you in the blue ocean. So you may have the same business, but being different in that puts you in that category of blue ocean where you have more creative, and your tendency is to be able to generate more business because you're doing that. That's a fascinating book. I mean, a lot of it was kind of hard to sift through because there was a lot, it was boring to read. But the basic gist of the book was what you're saying is taking a business that's have a lot of common denominators and figuring out what's going to differentiate yourself to develop your business.
So, for years we've all been hearing about Simon Sinek, who I'm a great Simon Sinek fan, and the why. This year, I'm going to be talking more about the how, because to your point, in one industry, there can be many people that have the same why, but it's the how that differentiates them. It's how they deliver on that why that puts their footprint on the service. And this particular person knew he had that edge, but he needed the vocabulary and the language of his brand and a compelling way to express it. And he kind of even had to elevate his belief in himself, in what he was doing.
Okay.
Because so much is based on believing in yourself.
I think that sounds pretty cool.
And here, I have an interesting thing for me, and I'd be really interested in hearing your take on this. From what I do for a living, being a dentist, you've got that big hurdle. So yes, you can have that discussion with people, but ultimately it comes down to, do you take my insurance? So you have to have, with your discussion, and this is what I'm working on, and it's hard, is to how to tell people that, yes, we don't participate in your insurance, but we're better. But there are a lot of people that just focus on, and we've done this to ourselves over a year as a business, is the people going because they participate, not knowing that. And I'm trying to say this dental insurance is basically, it's a gift certificate, but you can talk to some people, and
True. That's
It's true.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but it is.
It's very,
or a gift card or whatever.
right. It's very frustrating.
It is
One of the
true
more
though. You
frustrating
can't
things.
go to a place if they don't take your.
No,
benefits.
you can go.
Yeah,
You
you
just-
can elect to go.
You
yeah.
can elect to go, but you will not be able to use that benefit. So it's always the, how do you tell people? People say a dentist is a dentist is a dentist. You participate. I'm going to go to you. You don't participate. You may be the best dentist in the world, but you don't participate in my insurance. And that is a huge hurdle for someone when you're speaking to someone in that profession to overcome.
It is indeed. And
What's a monetary one? Sure.
so it goes back to, are people just going to be, and I'm not denigrating a concern with price, but are people just going to be concerned with price? Or are they going to recognize the value of what you offer? And also, aren't they going to want to work with a company or a service provider that they truly like?
Value in my profession is very hard to convey, and I may go off on a little tangent here. What we've done is we remodeled our office, and now we have on our software we have a lot of AI, and when you put X-rays up on the screen, it shows you where there's decay, where there's bone loss, so people can actually see that. And that helps, and that's another aid we use.
There was a lot of decay with Bobette. I don't think you need AI for that.
No, but
check
seriously,
the teeth.
but that's one of the things that are helping us to kind of get over that hump, to really educate people. But if my tooth isn't hurting, doc, why am I doing something? And that's a real difficult thing. And the same thing with the insurance. It's when you're having these discussions with people that are in corporate, you don't have that obstacle. You have it in dentistry.
Oh, absolutely. But it isn't, I'm not a healthcare expert,
Sure.
but having this particular client and both of these clients being in healthcare and having written on healthcare extensively and worked for some healthcare companies myself, it isn't always about the pain.
No.
It's about maintaining and elevating a quality to prevent yourself from injury and having more pain and needing the next surgery, or in your case, perhaps a more grave or more extensive dental work.
Do you know how many times I have that discussion with patients? But doc, it's not bothering me.
Yeah, that isn't always the answer.
I know.
What did you say?
That isn't always the answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to the final question here and start wrapping this up. What a great conversation has been had here. And that is, how can the Rand Dummies set up their communication marketing plan for the new year 2025? What are your recommendations, thoughts, and suggestions?
So that's actually a very interesting question, because this is the time of the year and all the content gurus are out telling people what's big this year. So number one, when I think of the Rand Dummies and the Random-esque podcast,
Sure.
I think of two things. I think of
Bob and Bobette.
Jim and Paul.
Jim and Paul. I actually think of the book The Old Neighborhood, because
Okay.
you guys are both from Philly. You had your father on once.
Yes.
There's a little
Yes,
nostalgia
thank you.
there, and you're good friends now.
Yes.
And there's humor, and there's I also think of Seinfeld, because it's kind of a show. In their case, it was about nothing. In your case, it's about randomness.
Exactly.
Well,
Right?
we're going to use the comment of the George Costanza wallet.
Oh, yes, that's right. The comment of the George Costanza. So, I think that's wonderful. And that to me is a signature story. So one of the things I'd like you to do
Sure.
is put some ideas on paper.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you two together? What was the
Beer.
brainchild of
Beer.
this podcast?
Beer.
It's always beer and
It'll-
donuts, probably.
It'll do it every time.
Beer.
Folks.
No, it was
It'll
actually
do it.
16.
Beer at 16 Prospect.
16
And that's where
Prospect,
that's
yeah.
where I met you for the first time.
That's right.
We met for lunch.
We absolutely did. And I'm a patron of 16 Prospect too. And that's so funny that you mentioned that, because I feel the collegiality of the place.
That's actually where
whenever
Paul and I
go
met.
there.
He was holding an event at 16, and I attended it, and we figured out we were both from Northeast Philly, and we became really good friends.
Isn't that
fast.
funny? I
Very good
think
friends.
that's a beautiful thing. That's serendipitous. And so I think you need some backstory. And then, of
And
course,
this is what you'd say to the Rand Dummies too. Like that's what they should do too, right?
yeah,
The people out in Rand Dummy land.
out in Randummy land, there's always something, there's always subtext.
It sounds so
something-
wonderful coming out of your mouth.
something deeper, right? And so that's real, and there's all the mechanics. You should be asking your audience, what do they love about your podcast? What works, what doesn't, et cetera, and change anything or add components. But above all, this backstory, because here's what's big this year in communication: emotion, humanity. It's been there for a long time now, especially since storytelling came into the picture. But this year, it's on steroids. You got AI playing a hand.
You sure do.
And to compensate,
AI is amazing.
Amazing, but as a complement to that, use AI as a tool to get to things faster. But use humanity, use that light up spirit, use the how of your differentiator to show people what's in it for them.
Yep.
That you understand their pain, that you understand their hopes and dreams, and that you are the solution to make that happen. It is always beyond the transaction. It's about the heart. It's about emotion.
And I'm sorry, Barb, when I started doing all these contests on the Westfield Facebook page, giving away gift cards to businesses, Nobody knew I was a dentist. I never said I was. I just got people to know me for me before they got to know me for what I do.
It's funny that you say that because like this is kind of like when we knew each other in the last year or so. I would say, oh, do you know that? Do you know Dr. Paul Banks in Westfield? And they would be like, no. I'm like, oh, do you know the guy that talks on the Westfield pages and gives out prizes? Like, oh yeah, I know Paul. They like knew it right away. Like the branding was amazing. How they knew you from those pages, and that's incredible branding on your part.
Yeah, it does a lot. I mean, I'm surprised that I've been able to get a lot of people travel from Westfield to Florham Park to come to my dental office.
Well, yeah, because they want to feel comfortable. You have to know, like, and trust somebody.
Yeah.
As we all talk about. So, anyway, Randommies. It's 2025. You should be out there setting up your communication goals, as Barb talked about. Have that backstory of what's your business about, what's your differentiator, and the how. That seems to be the big word this year, is the how of it that Barb's talking about. And certainly, if you want to reach out to Barb and have her work with you on your corporate communications marketing plan, how you present yourself, either through words or through actions in speech, how do they get a hold of you, Barb?
So I certainly am reachable through my email, which is barbara@barbaramannino.com. You can also get.
And there's two N's in there.
There's two N's in the middle and one at the end.
I always look back and I'm like, is there two N's?
Yeah, I know. Even some good friends of ours do
What's the
that.
problem trying to play Scrabble using her name? I only get two N's.
That's right.
It's a double word score, though, right?
It could be.
My calendar link is is barbaramm.com/chat. And my
chat, did you say?
Chat.
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 Barbara.mm.
No, BarbaraMM.
Barbara.com
Barbara
chat. Gotcha. Okay.
I would have written it down.
BarbaraMM.com/chat.
And
Perfect.
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook.
Is that because MM is like you like M&Ms?
I never thought of it that way.
Just
Plain or peanut?
Plain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plain.
Actually, I have some plain in the cupboard over there.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I had some last night because Barb was using them for a mix that she put together at the holidays.
That sounds good.
You never thought of that you're MM? You're an M&M?
I never actually thought about that, but now you've brought
But
up.
you like plain better than peanut?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And you can
Randommies want to know.
That's right. Randommies want to know. You can always reach me through a direct message on Facebook.
LinkedIn, right?
Also on LinkedIn.
Are you on Instagram?
I am, as babswithaz.com. I'm going to change that.
I love it.
Don't ask.
Anyway,
Man,
Barb.
she's nationwide.
Yeah, she is.
She is
nationwide.
International.
Barb, you've been a lovely guest, and as a part of being a lovely guest, you get a lovely gift. A Random Ass Podcast candle. And if you turn it over, you can learn what it is. I always
Hand
forget.
poured in the USA.
It's called
Lucky Clover.
That is the brand Wicked Good that we use for the Random S candles. And you get a special Random S candle
love it.
that you can burn at home and
I'm so excited.
have a glass of wine.
Just don't put it near the drapes.
I know. I saw this sitting in front of me as I took my seat, and I thought, well, that's an odd place for a candle. Little did I know it was going to be mine.
It was a prop
I'm
and it
thrilled.
was a gift.
Yeah. I love it.
It
Thank
doubled
you,
as
guys.
Anyway, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
on the
Barbara.
show. You were
Thank
terrific.
you.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, Randommies, the ubiquitous Barbara Mannino.
MM.
And then